A journey through the book of 2 Kings, a chapter-level exploration. Part 1, the successor ministry of Elisha and the decline of Israel, chapters 1 to 8. Chapter 1. After King Ahaziah of Israel falls through a lattice and is fatally injured, he sends messengers to consult the pagan god Baal-zebub. Elijah intercepts them, rebukes the king for ignoring God, and prophesies his death, which occurs just as Elijah foretold. Chapter 2. As Elijah's earthly ministry concludes, he and Elisha travel from Gilgal to Bethel and Jericho before crossing the Jordan River. Elijah is taken up to heaven in a whirlwind by a chariot of fire. Dropping his cloak, Elisha picks it up, parts the Jordan waters, and receives a double portion of Elijah's prophetic spirit, instantly performing his first miracle by purifying the toxic waters of Jericho. Chapter 3. King Joram of Israel, King Jehoshaphat of Judah, and the king of Edom ally to fight a rebellious Moabite coalition. Trapped without water in the wilderness, they summon Elisha, who rebukes Joram but prophesies that God will miraculously fill the dry wadi with water without wind or rain, leading to a decisive victory over Moab. Chapter 4. Elisha performs a series of remarkable domestic and public miracles to care for the vulnerable. He multiplies a poor widow's jar of oil to pay her debts, prophesies a son for a generous Shunammite woman, and later raises the boy from the dead when he dies of a sunstroke, neutralizes a poisoned stew, and feeds 100 men with only 20 small barley loaves. Chapter 5. Naaman, the commander of the Aramean army, who suffers from leprosy, travels to Israel, seeking healing on the advice of a young captive Israelite servant. Elisha instructs him simply to wash 7 times in the Jordan River. After initial hesitation, Naaman obeys, is completely healed, and declares faith in the God of Israel, while Elisha's greedy servant Gehazi is struck with Naaman's leprosy as punishment for deceit. Chapter 6. Elisha causes an iron axe head to float in the Jordan River, and later saves the king of Israel multiple times by intercepting secret Aramean military plans. When the enraged king of Aram sends a massive army to surround Dothan to capture Elisha, God opens the eyes of Elisha's terrified servant to see the surrounding hills filled with horses and chariots of fire. Elisha then strikes the invading army with temporary blindness and leads them safely into Samaria before feeding and releasing them. Chapter 7. During a catastrophic and horrific siege of Samaria by the Arameans that drives citizens to cannibalism, Elisha prophesies that food will become dirt cheap by the next day. 4 lepers stumble into the abandoned Aramean camp after God causes the enemy to hear the thunderous sound of a massive phantom army, and they bring the joyful news back to the starving city. Chapter 8. Elisha warns the Shunammite woman of a 7-year famine, allowing her to flee to Philistia and return later to reclaim her land. Meanwhile, Elisha visits Damascus, where he weeps while prophesying to Hazael that he will become king of Aram and inflict brutal suffering on Israel, while in Judah, Kings Joram and Ahaziah rule wickedly in the ways of Ahab's house. Part 2. The final decades of Israel and the history of Judah, chapters 9 to 17. Chapter 9. Elisha sends a young prophet to secretly anoint Jehu as king of Israel and commission him to wipe out the wicked house of Ahab. Jehu executes a swift and bloody coup, personally shooting King Joram with an arrow, executing King Ahaziah of Judah, and overseeing the gruesome execution of Queen Jezebel, whose body is devoured by dogs as Elijah had prophesied. Chapter 10. Jehu systematically purges the remaining descendants of Ahab, slaughtering 70 royal princes in Samaria, executing relatives of Ahaziah, and trapping the prophets and worshippers of Baal in their temple to destroy them utterly, though he disappointingly fails to tear down the golden calves of Bethel and done. Chapter 11. When wicked Queen Athaliah of Judah hears that her son Ahaziah is dead, She attempts to destroy the entire royal bloodline to seize the throne. However, Jehosheba rescues infant Joash, hiding him in the temple for 6 years. In the 7th year, the priest Jehoiada organizes a secure coup, crowns young Joash, and executes Athaliah. Chapter 12. King Joash reigns well under the guidance of the priest Jehoiada, initiating a major campaign to repair and restore the physical structure of the temple using a collection box. Later in his reign, when Hazael threatens Jerusalem, Joash strips the temple treasures to pay him off and is eventually assassinated by his own officials. Chapter 13. After a succession of oppressive military defeats inflicted by Aram upon kings Jehoahaz and Jehoash of Israel, the aging prophet Elisha falls terminally ill on his deathbed. King Jehoash visits him, and Elisha has him shoot arrows out the window as a symbol of victory, prophesying that Israel will defeat Aram 3 times before Elisha dies, and even performs a posthumous miracle when a dead man tossed into his tomb revives upon touching Elisha's bones. Chapter 14. Amaziah begins a righteous reign in Judah, defeating the Edomites, but grows arrogant and foolishly challenges King Jehoash of Israel to war, resulting in Jerusalem being breached, the temple looted, and hostages taken, while in the north, Jeroboam II begins a long and prosperous military reign. Chapter 15. The southern and northern kingdoms experience a mixed era of final stability and rapid decline. Azariah, Uzziah, and Jotham rule long in Judah, despite failing to remove local high places, while the northern kingdom spins out of control through a rapid succession of violent assassinations involving kings Zechariah, Shallum, Menahem, Pekahiah, and Pekah, as the shadow of the expanding Assyrian Empire looms large under King Tiglath-Pileser. Chapter 16. King Ahaz of Judah reigns wickedly, sacrificing his own son to pagan fires, looting the temple to pay off Assyria, and replacing the bronze altar in God's temple with a pagan design copied from Damascus. Chapter 17. The final collapse of the northern kingdom arrives under Israel's last king, Hoshea. After Hoshea attempts to secretly rebel against Assyria by conspiring with Egypt, the Assyrian king Shalmaneser invades, besieges Samaria for 3 years, and completely conquers the nation in 722 BC, forcibly deporting the Israelites across the empire and repopulating the land with foreign nations, a catastrophe the text explicitly attributes to centuries of spiritual unfaithfulness and idolatry. Part 3. The Surviving Kingdom of Judah and the Babylonian Exile, chapters 18 to 25. Chapter 18. Hezekiah ascends the throne of Judah as one of its most righteous kings, removing local high places, shattering the bronze serpent Moses had made because the people had begun worshipping it, and trusting utterly in God when the mighty Assyrian army under Sennacherib invades Judah and surrounds Jerusalem with mocking threats. Chapter 19. Stricken with terror, King Hezekiah spreads Sennacherib's blasphemous letters before the Lord in the temple and seeks the counsel of the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah reassures him with a divine promise of deliverance. That very night, the angel of the Lord strikes down 185,000 soldiers in the Assyrian camp, forcing Sennacherib to retreat to Nineveh, where his own sons assassinate him. Hezekiah falls deathly ill, but when he weeps and prays, God grants him 15 additional years of life, confirmed by the miraculous sign of the sun's shadow moving backward on the stairway of Ahaz. Tragically, Hezekiah later proudly displays all his palace treasures to visiting Babylonian envoys, prompting Isaiah to prophesy that everything will one day be carried off to Babylon. Chapter 21. Hezekiah's son Manasseh undoes all the spiritual reforms, reigning as Judah's most wicked king by rebuilding high places, erecting altars to Baal, practicing witchcraft, sacrificing his own children, and filling Jerusalem with innocent blood, ensuring that God's judgment of exile is permanently sealed. Chapter 22. Following the brief reign of Naaman, young King Josiah comes to power at age 8 and initiates a sweeping religious renovation. While workmen repair the temple, the high priest Hilkiah discovers the long-lost Book of the Law. When it is read to Josiah, he tears his clothes in grief and sends messengers to consult the prophetess Huldah, who confirms that severe judgment is coming, though not during Josiah's lifetime, because of his humble heart. Chapter 23. Josiah gathers all of Judah to read the covenant, launching an aggressive national purge that smashes every pagan altar, defiles Topheth, executes idolatrous priests, and celebrates a magnificent Passover celebration unlike any since the days of the judges. Despite this profound spiritual renewal, Josiah is unexpectedly killed in battle at Megiddo by Pharaoh Necho of Egypt. Chapter 24. Judah rapidly unravels under a succession of puppet kings controlled by Egypt and rising Babylon: Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, and Jehoiakim. In 597 BC, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon besieges Jerusalem, deports King Jehoiakim along with the royal family, craftsmen, and thousands of captives to Babylon, and installs Zedekiah as a puppet king. Chapter 25. Zedekiah rebels against Babylon, triggering a final, brutal 18-month siege of Jerusalem that results in devastating famine, the breaching of the city walls, the execution of Zedekiah's sons before his eyes, followed by blinding him, and the total destruction of Jerusalem, including the burning of the temple and the royal palace. The remaining population is exiled to Babylon, bringing the sovereign history of the Davidic monarchy to a close, though the book ends with a brief, hopeful note of grace when the exiled King Jehoiakim is released from prison and given a seat at the Babylonian king's table for the rest of his life. Epilogue. The Book of 2 Kings continues the historical narrative of the divided monarchy, tracking the accelerating moral decline and political corruption of both Israel and Judah. It features the miraculous ministries of the prophets Elisha and Isaiah, the eventual destruction and exile of the northern kingdom of Israel by Assyria, and the final collapse of the southern kingdom of Judah by Babylon.